Hey, welcome back to the channel, Weather Junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman, bringing you a weather update without all that social media hype. We're looking at your forecast here on your Thursday, August 29th, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at those weather headlines, shall we? As we're looking at some more severe weather action here up in the high plains, we had the Dakotas kind of get hit pretty good yesterday, had a few tornadoes around. Looks like we'll be looking at Iowa and into Minnesota here for later this afternoon into tonight. It looks like another fall-like blast will be falling behind this next storm system, and some areas going into New England, for example, heading toward Labor Day, could see some very unusually cool weather. We'll show you the specifics on that as well. And it's looking increasingly likely. We've been talking about the tropics finally getting going. Looks like we may see Francine next week. We'll take a look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center and kind of give you the latest on the models to see what you could expect for your planning purposes. Now, before we get into all that, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel and if you'd like to make this a regular feature in your YouTube feed, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you learn on future content, and it helps the YouTube algorithm. You could please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share this with your friends. The whole goal here is to obviously to get as big an audience as possible to bring some critical weather information to everybody out in the YouTube universe. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our latest satellite imagery here. Looking at down the eastern seaboard here, got a few clouds here across areas of New York State, down north Pennsylvania, stretching back over toward Michigan. Seeing a blow up some thunderstorms here in southern portion of Minnesota, as well as up toward the upper portions of Minnesota, stretching back into the Dakotas. Look at this nice little spin here. This little pinwheel here is what set off the twisting motion of the tornadoes we had across portions of South Dakota yesterday. Some unsettled weather here across the Gulf Coast states. A little tropical wave down here. Seeing some thunderstorms down here out in the Gulf. And pretty quiet out in the west. Very quiet, but it's going to be getting very hot and steamy out there in the days ahead. Looking at your current surface map again, you can see the rains here stretching from Minnesota, stretching all the way back toward Colorado. Nice little cool pullback here. Look at that. There's a 27 degrees right there. Boy, that don't tell you the change is coming soon. I don't know it will, but that's unusual to see that there across the mountains there in southern Montana. Very warm here across most of the southeast, as well as a little bit cooler weather south of this front, or north of this front, I should say, across portions of New England. There's a 44 there, right there on the Canadian border. So you kind of get that sense, boy, we're getting ready to go into September. Fall's not too far away, but we still got to deal with some summer conditions, that's for sure. Look at these orange areas here. These are heat advisories for Alabama, Mississippi, over toward North Carolina, Virginia, and some pockets here and there. And I do suspect in the days ahead, especially with the humidity increasing here across the south, we may see an increase in the number of heat advisories here across the south. So you have been warned there. All right, let's look at your local radar here. We're looking up to the upper portions of Minnesota here with some of this rain and a little bit of thunder out here from Grand Forks going over toward Thief River Falls. As this is part of that system that's going to be plowing into Minnesota and setting up that potential for severe weather across portions of like Minneapolis. Boy, they've been hit several times this week, and they're looking at another round. But I think once this system goes by, we're going to get a little bit of a break. I know you folks there in the High Plains might be getting a little bit tired of the active weather. Now, obviously, we got a beach weekend coming up, Labor Day weekend. The unofficial end of summer is just around the corner. I'm looking at Hilton Head, South Carolina. That's a beautiful shot, isn't it? Very nice indeed. And the beach weather there is looking perfect for today. Sunny skies, looking at a high temperature of 90 degrees. And hey, if you would like to have your city recognized as the weather city of the day, and you got a good webcam, maybe on YouTube or somewhere else, please post that link down below and I'll go ahead and use that for a future broadcast. All right, let's go ahead and talk about that severe weather threat here that we're expecting across parts of the country once again here for today. You think we were into springtime, the way this active weather has been, unusually so to kind of see this. So let's go ahead and take a look at the latest from the Storms Prediction Centers. We're looking at their day one outlook here across the country here. So we're talking about areas up toward Minnesota, Wisconsin, and over toward Iowa. That's going to be our area of concern here for today. This pocket up here with that system that's coming down. And of course, we got another little frontal boundary here that may set off some additional severe weather here across portions of the mid-Atlantic. So from North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, those are going to be areas of concern here for this afternoon and into tonight. Let's go ahead and break it down by the categories. Let's look at that tornado threat first, which is going to be sitting mostly across Minnesota. So Minneapolis, once again, under the gun there for a tornado risk, running about 5%. The green is 2%, so that's the surrounding area from Minnesota back down toward Iowa. The hail threat will be the highest, obviously, in the same general area. That's in that yellow, running about 15%, maybe a little pocket there still a possibility as you look over toward the areas over toward the mid-Atlantic. So can't rule that out as well. Wind threat, almost the exact same identical setup there. So same regions again, looking at those zones there from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa being your highest threat for that. Your day 2 action shows things settling down just a little bit as we look at the day 2 load up here, as we're going to be seeing things getting a little bit better here, but you still got that marginal risk for severe weather as that frontal system kind of rolls into that way here for your day 2 outlook. And your day 3 outlook will progress that off a little bit further off toward the east, as we can see that system kind of start to swing into New England. And we'll be looking up areas here across New York State and stretching back down toward West Virginia as we go into your day 3. So that's going into your upcoming Saturday with the weather there. It looks like a general thunderstorm threat for a large part of the country, though, as we head into this upcoming weekend. So again, kind of doing a recap of what you can expect here for today. Again, we're looking at a slight risk. That includes the cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, Rochester, Bloomington, and Plymouth sitting there in that slight risk. And the highest risk for tornadoes is going to include those same general cities: Minneapolis, St. Paul, Bloomington, Plymouth, and all over toward Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. And you still got that 2% risk. That includes Des Moines, Iowa, Cedar Rapids, Rochester, Duluth, Minnesota, and Waterloo, Iowa. Also seeing that slight risk here for today. Let's go ahead and shift gears and head out into the tropics and see what's going on out there. We're finally getting things starting to bubble up out that way, as we got a new update here from the National Hurricane Center. Has now upgraded this tropical wave about halfway across the Atlantic up to 40% chance for development. And it's this particular wave that I'm really concerned about, as we got the new European model showing some development with that system. As we look at the satellite imagery here for this morning, it doesn't look all that impressive here on the satellite imagery for the moment. I mean, we're talking about the system sitting about halfway out here, right there, and you got another one here back behind this one. So we got 2 different tropical waves here that are kind of running through here. And as it makes that trek across the Atlantic and starts to work toward the Caribbean, that looks like conditions will become more and more conducive for development of this tropical system as it continues to move off toward the west. The latest European ensembles, and again, this is kind of the spaghetti plot development here, showing the different model outtakes here. And we can see we've got a pretty good variety. We got 2 different systems already. So we're looking at possibly Francine, possibly Gordon. But we got a heck of a spread with what could potentially become Francine. I mean, that's a huge spread. So when it comes to computer modeling, the further out you go, the more errors you're going to get. So we're looking at a big swath in the range of the models. That's why I don't like looking at anything tropical beyond 10 days, because the errors just get so big, you really just can't depend on it. But one thing is for certain, we're looking at, looks like 2 potential tropical systems could be Francine and Gordon as we go in toward next weekend. Not this weekend. Labor Day weekend's looking good, but the following weekend, as we head toward closer to September 10th, which is supposed to be the peak of the hurricane season, we could be tracking at least 2 systems out there in the Atlantic as we go into the following weekend. Now, the sea surface temperatures, that's a major concern. And remember that the whole purpose of tropical systems is to transport built-up heat from the tropics and move them poleward. And boy, we've got bath water out here, folks. We're talking about Celsius temperatures 30 to 31 degrees. So that's basically between, say, 86 and 87, 88 degrees. So you got some very warm waters for any tropical systems to develop, and that could lead to some explosive, fast development once the system closes off. Again, it really depends on the environment. Obviously, we got to make sure we don't have any wind shear out there or anything like that. And it looks like, as we look at the latest models, that might be the case here. This is the zones we're talking about. Again, as we head toward the 4th to the 10th and the 11th to the 17th, showing 40% chance of developing there in those red hot zones as we progress through the month of September. I'm still going with a 6 to 8 forecast for a number of named storms for the month. And again, this is the peak zones that we traditionally look at historically over the past 100 years for development. So what I'm going to take a look at right now is we're going to take a look at the European model, the latest European model. I want to go ahead and step you through this as we transition to our model data forecast here. And what you're looking at right here is the main sea surface pressure anomaly map. The yellows is where you get your higher pressure. The blues is where you see your lower pressure. And as we kind of track this thing out, it doesn't really show a whole lot here through the weekend. We start to show indications of stuff as we go in toward say Labor Day weekend, we got something out here we're kind of tracking. Kind of your eyes start to bring your attention. Hey, look, we got a little blue bob here. We got a little blue bob here, and it's this one here. That one, that's got the attention of everybody as we go in toward next week. That's how it's looking. So again, watch that time track in the top right-hand corner as it goes through the Windward Islands here on your Tuesday morning, and it continues to make that trek. Again, only spinning up one system right now in the European, but I would not totally discard this other system back behind this one to potentially come to develop into something. Right now, not showing that, but that is definitely subject to change. But as this thing progresses into your middle of the week next week, going in toward your Thursday morning, you're looking at a pretty strong tropical storm at this point, and as it approaches the island of Jamaica, probably looking at a hurricane at this point. Again, this is still 8-9 days away. So you got to kind of take this with a grain of salt as far as the exact track. But right now, developing a hurricane, and it starts to make this turn as it heads toward Cuba. And that's a little concerning there as this makes this turn, is we do have a trough coming in here. This blue, you've clearly got a trough here coming across the east. So it's going to pull on this system to the north like a magnet. But timing is everything. How fast is it moving to the west? How fast does that trough come in? It's all about the timing on that. So again, where it makes that turn, will it get into the Gulf of Mexico? Will it make a turn up the eastern seaboard? Still too much time to watch this before we can kind of make that call. We got a little ways to watch that before we see that. So that's what we're tracking going into the following weekend. Good for this weekend. Next weekend, not so much. We'll have to watch that very closely. Let's go ahead and switch gears here and take a look at the model data here for the continental United States as we get ready for this upcoming Labor Day weekend, as we'll go ahead and take this back and we'll take it over to precipitation mode here. So again, we're going to be tracking that system there along the northern tier of the United States. That's what's going to be setting off that active severe weather here as we go into tonight across areas of Minnesota and areas there from Iowa stretching back toward Kansas. So that'll be the areas of concern there. As we go through time, again, we're not getting a big push to the southeast. This is mostly moving off from west to east. So you folks in the southeast who are hoping to get a little bit of a break here from the heat, not going to be all that much. But folks across the high plains, the Midwest, the Northeast, all of you guys are looking at a nice relief in the temperatures as the system moves on through. Saturday is looking a little bit on the rainy side here through New England, back through the Midwest, heading in toward Texas, this whole zone in here. We'll see a general thunderstorm threat. The severe risk is not going to be that high, maybe just a marginal, as we just showed you there on the day 3 outlook there on Saturday, especially across areas up toward New England. But again, nothing that's going to be too bad to be too concerned about for your Saturday. This will clear New England as we go into Sunday. Looks like things begun. We got a little push of some colder pocket air there, just kind of glancing across portions of New England. But the front's going to stall across the southeast. So basically, if you're looking at Sunday and into your Monday afternoon, you're looking at air mass thunderstorms all across from the Carolinas, stretching all the way back toward Texas. It's going to be hot. It's going to be steamy. It's just going to be, typical summer weather, I guess you could call it for the most part here across areas of the deep south. So as we go through the Labor Day weekend, this will be okay. And then going next week, most of the country, west to east, notice that the track really dries out. We've had a very active storm track here across the northern portion of the country, really. And that is going to be clearing out. So the track that's been moving across west-east, across the Canadian border, that's going to be going away. You're going to have to worry about that. Or attention is really going to be turned to is this portion of the country down here as we go into the following weekend, because of what could potentially be something tropical in nature coming up that way. So as we go through the rest of next week, again, most of the country pretty quiet, staying kind of rainy across the southeast. Looks like a little disturbance there through the middle of the country on Friday. And that's about it. Looks like another reinforcing shot of some cool air kind of coming down across New England, across the Great Lakes. Can't quite see it on your look there on the screen, but when I start seeing the 540 line, that's like a freezing line, and it's only the first week in September. Boy, that tells you something. It could be another cool shot coming into New England going into the following weekend. We'll see if that holds true or not as we go through time. But really, looks like, again, some scatter storms across the areas of the deep south here in the middle of the country as well, with some thunderstorms as well. And again, going beyond the 10-day, Sunday into Monday, that's when things will get interesting. We'll have to watch that religiously and make sure to keep you informed on any changes there. All right, let's go ahead and switch over toward the temperature. Let's go ahead and track that here as we switch over toward the temperatures here over the next, going into Labor Day weekend. We're just going to track this through Labor Day weekend so you can kind of plan accordingly. And you notice we got a pretty good coverage there of 90s here, covering a big portion of the country as we go throughout the day from today. So it's going to be kind of hot, kind of steamy. Atlanta's looking at 94. You're looking at 94 over toward Kansas City. So it is definitely a warm and steamy day. Watch that time stamp once again. As we go through time, you can clearly see we got a frontal system. Shows up nicely in the morning times. Now, that's for sure. You got that warm system. You got 50s back here behind this system. This is feeling pretty nice indeed. But big swath of 70s here across the east here going into your Friday morning. And that will slowly beat that back. We're going to see much more tolerable temperatures here as we say goodbye to the 90s. But it's going to be also heating up big time out in the west as we go into this upcoming Saturday. Let's go ahead and stop this on your Saturday here. Saturday afternoon highs. Look at 97 down toward Montgomery, for example. You got 96 out here in Sacramento. Very hot and steamy out here in the desert Southwest. And 90s all the way up into Washington State. But 70s and 80s, this is pretty comfortable here across the high plains stretching back into the northeast. That's going to feel pretty nice here for your Saturday. And that'll be the trend here really for the weekend. So going into Sunday as well, Sunday afternoon highs still steaming the southeast. That's where it's going to stay. But at least from the middle of the country here, Chicago's looking at 73, Des Moines 76. Going over to North Philadelphia, it's 83, 82. Not bad. These are definitely very tolerable temperatures. But the west is going to be steamy and the southeast is going to be steamy. As we stop this on your Labor Day forecast again, you're going to be seeing temperatures here in the 90s, feel like temperatures in the triple digits here in the southeast. Very warm out here in the west, still seeing a lot of 90s and even, again, big 100s there across the desert southwest. Those are where the steamy weather is going to be. But if you want nice weather, again, from about the middle of the country, you go into this box area right here, looks like a good, 1/3 of the country looking pretty nice. The temperature's not bad at all as we head into Labor Day weekend, as we wrap up the unofficial end of summer and, say goodbye to that and get ready for the fall season. I know a lot of football action will be going on this weekend, that's for sure. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at that climate outlook. This is the latest update again. We were talking about those below normal temperatures here in the Northeast. That's where we're expecting that. Above here across the South, big warm up out here in the West. The West had a little bit of a break here in the last few days with below normal temperatures out here, but that's going to be going away here as we go through September 3rd through the 7th. And then as we go beyond that, fairly seasonable here for a big chunk of the country here, except for the deep south here from Florida along the Gulf Coast. Big warm, still staying pretty hot above normal temperatures out here in the West. Again, we were showing you how the storm track is changing. Obviously, we've had a very active storm track over here over the last 10 days or so. We're going to get a chance to dry out up here. Going to get wetter here in the southeast where they need it. It's been a bit on the dry side for especially areas across the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, looking kind of dry. And this is through the 3rd through the 7th. And then as we look at the 5th through the 11th, this might change a little bit, okay? And this might change just depending on if we get Francine to come up this way. Is it going to go on the Gulf of Mexico? Is it going to head up the eastern seaboard? Obviously, it's going to change this potential map outlook as we look at, again, September 5th through the 11th. So things are going to get busy, folks, as we're looking out at the tropics. We've been talking about this here for a little while. Things were going to get hot and heavy out there. We'll see how this develops here over the next several days. Right now, we don't have an established depression. Once we get that low-level circulation to develop, the models do a better job as far as trying to track exactly where that's going to go. And yours truly is going to keep a very watchful eye on this for you. So if you would like to get my updates in your regular feed, I also do some shorts as well. They're kind of like 1-minute little updates here. Please just subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And as always, I appreciate any feedback or anything you'd like to see as part of your update, because this forecast is for you guys and to keep you updated and to kind of help you out a little bit as well, because there's so much out there in the YouTube universe, and there's always a lot of gloom and doom out there. And I'm not, I try to give it to you straightforward. That's how I like to play the game there. All right, that's your update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.